Coming up, our Week 2 edition of Around the Diamond in the SEC. Plus, after that, we'll give some thoughts on a little bit of preview for the Tigers tonight as LSU Baseball is back in action, back at home in Alex Box Stadium for their midweek game tonight, Tuesday night at 6:30, playing the Cowboys of McNeese State. We'll cover that on a brand new edition of the Babin on the Bayou show. I'm your host, as always, Justin Babin Jr., It is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. Hope you folks and your family are having a great, phenomenal start to the work week. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Again, we're going to go around the diamond in the SEC. We'll do a little bit more LSU baseball talk a little bit about the midweek game tonight with McNeese State coming to the box at 6:30 tonight, Tuesday night. Want to remind you about our wonderful daily sponsors over at Shield Heating and Cooling, the daily title sponsors of the Babin on the Bayou show, the team over at Shield Heating and Cooling, the best AC company in the business today, multiple decades of experience, and I love my audience, I love you guys, and I want you to take a part in this amazing giveaway that we've been talking about. So if you call the best team in the business today over at Shield Heating and Cooling at the number 225-46-BAYOU, 225-46-BAYOU, B-A-Y-O-U. You call them, you tell them you heard about them from the Babin on the Bayou show, and I'll be giving away free AC system cleaning checks for every AC system in your home. Want you to take part in this amazing giveaway, completely free to you, saving you money. Again, free AC system cleaning checks if you call the best team in the business today over at Shield Heating and Cooling at that number 225-46-BAYOU, 225-46-BAYOU, B-A-Y-O-U. Again, take a part in this amazing giveaway, folks, with Shield Heating and Cooling, your local comfort defenders. We greatly appreciate them for being the daily title sponsors of the Babin on the Bayou show. Now, let's get into our Week 2 edition of Around the Diamond in the SEC. Again, I like doing this once a week throughout baseball season. We'll probably do it either on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, depending on the midweek schedule, because I didn't want to do the segment tomorrow because we wanted to lead the show tomorrow talking about and recapping the game that's going to happen tonight. So that's why we moved the segment up a day. But anyway, let's get into Week 2 Around the Diamond in the SEC. Again, I think this is important and cool because we do a show every weekday. And during baseball season, I think it's valuable to keep up with what's happening in the SEC, not only because LSU plays in the SEC, but because it is the premier conference and really the standard of college baseball. The last 6 college baseball national champions have come out of the Southeastern Conference. So I think week to week, doing one segment a week, keeping up with it is valuable. So this past weekend, 13 out of the 16 SEC teams, really a dominant weekend for the SEC in weekend number 2. 13 of the 16 teams in the Southeastern Conference won all 3 of their games this weekend. So 13 out of the 16 teams in the Southeastern Conference swept their weekend series this past weekend. Little update, the D1 Baseball released their top 25 poll for this week. Yesterday, I believe, LSU is still number 2 in the country, ranked right behind the number 1 team in the country in the Bruins of UCLA, which is a little bit controversial, right? But UCLA is a very, very good team, and they made a loud statement themselves this weekend. They swept dominant series. They swept the number 7 team in the country in the Horned Frogs of TCU, outscoring TCU in a 3-game dominant sweep. They outscored TCU, the number 7 team in the country, 30-8. So UCLA has been really good, and they are the only team that is ahead of LSU in the current D1 Baseball Top 25. But let's get right into going around the SEC with the biggest news of this weekend. Huge upset, folks, that involves the number 20 team in the country in the Tennessee Volunteers. So Tennessee 5-2 on the season, but big upset. They lost a series 2 out of 3 this past weekend in Knoxville, hosting the Kent State Golden Flashes, the team that LSU played last Monday. Tennessee, they did win the opening game of the weekend against Kent State on Friday, but they had to hit a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth inning to win that one. Then they lost on Saturday 2-1 when they only had 5 hits total as an offense in the game on Saturday. And then they lost the rubber match 9-5 on Sunday afternoon when Kent State really produced offensively early and often in that game. Tennessee pitchers in the game on Sunday issued 7 walks, and they hit 4 Kent State batters despite striking out 15. So again, Tony Vitello's gone. Josh Elander steps in his first season replacing really, Jay Johnson's the best college baseball coach in the country, but for years and years and years, I thought number 2 was Tony Vitello. And now you have Josh Elander in his first season with Tennessee as the head man, being promoted from an assistant with Tennessee, which he was under Tony V. And they had a good opening weekend. They had a good first few games, but they dropped a series. They dropped a series at home to Kent State, and Kent State's a really good team. They're favored, according to D1 Baseball, to win the MAC and be a regional team this year. And they pushed LSU to the limit last Monday, but it was shocking. Again, Tennessee goes down, loses a series 2 out of 3 in Knoxville to Kent State over the weekend. The most impressive team of the weekend, I think, is the current number 7 team in the country in the Auburn Tigers. Auburn is 6-1 on the season. They originally last week in a midweek game, I believe last Tuesday, lost 8-0 at home to Cincinnati. But then they really impressive this weekend, competing in 3 games in Globe Life. On Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. They won the Amegy Bank College Baseball Classic by winning 3 games in Arlington. This weekend, they defeated Kansas State, Florida State, and Louisville, who was a 2025 College World Series Omaha team. Look, Auburn had a very, very impressive weekend. Their offense to start the season has not been spectacular. Like, they haven't been one of the best offenses in the SEC. They've been missing their best player, or one of their best players, their top returning hitter from last year. Their top hitter last year was second baseman Chris Rembert, who's currently out with an ankle injury. They hope to have him back pretty soon. But even without Chris Rembert, to win all 3 games in Arlington this weekend, to beat Kansas State, Florida State, and Louisville was very impressive. Their offense hasn't been spectacular, but their pitching has. Their pitching has been really, really good. To start the season, opponents are only hitting just 189 against the Auburn pitching staff to start the season. So their offense hasn't been great, but their pitching staff has really carried the day. And really interesting stat, Auburn has won 8 straight games in Globe Life dating back to 2022. So they're really good when they play in Arlington, and it was really impressive. I think that was the most impressive outing this weekend in the SEC, besides maybe what LSU did, was what Auburn did. What they did in Globe Life was impressive this weekend. Moving on, the number 13 team in the country in the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma is still undefeated on the season after they swept Coppin State at home over the weekend, outscored Coppin State in 3 games, 57-1 in 3 games, absolutely dominated them. Oklahoma has looked really surprising and really, really good to start the season. Oklahoma offense, they have scored 10 or more runs in every game they've played in thus far this season. So Oklahoma continues to be very, very impressive. Texas Longhorns, Texas, the number 3 team in the country, they are still undefeated as well after sweeping the Michigan State Spartans at home over the weekend. Michigan State actually won a road series opening weekend at Louisville, who again was a 2025 CWS team. So Michigan State had an impressive opening weekend, but then Texas managed to sweep them this past weekend in Austin. I mentioned it before, the Longhorns might just have the best pitching staff in the entire country, currently leading the SEC in the early season thus far with a 1.53 ERA as a pitching staff. Texas is the only team in the SEC who has not allowed a single home run yet this season. They outscored Michigan State 15-2 this weekend. Did not allow any more than 5 hits in any game this weekend. So again, really, really dominant and great pitching staff. Perhaps the best pitching staff in the country is in Austin, Texas, with the Texas Longhorns. And Dylan Volantis, who had a phenomenal freshman season as the best arm out of the bullpen for Texas last year, and his 2 starts thus far this season, moving into a role in the weekend starting rotation, has looked really, really good. In a Sunday start against Michigan State, Volantis recorded a career-high 9 strikeouts over 7 scoreless innings in a start this weekend, and he retired 15 of the last 16 batters that he faced. Then offensively, Aiden Robbins for Texas also hit for the cycle in Game 2 for Texas over the weekend. So impressive performance hitting for the cycle, Aiden Robbins. The number 4 team in the country is the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Brian O'Connor's squad is still undefeated on the season. They swept Delaware at home over the weekend. Mississippi State, their offense really started to heat up this past week. They scored 58 runs in 5 games this past week. They are second in the conference through 8 games as a pitching staff with 101 strikeouts as a pitching staff, only behind LSU's 104 strikeouts as a staff to start the season. Ace Reese has been the star so far at the plate for Mississippi State. He is batting .500 to start the season, and Mississippi State is still undefeated, looking really, really good. The number 6 team in the country, the Arkansas Razorbacks, they are 6-1. They swept Xavier at home over the weekend. Arkansas had really 2 phenomenal weekend performances this weekend. According to D1 Baseball, Arkansas had both the SEC Player of the Weekend and the SEC Pitcher of the Weekend, according to D1 Baseball. It starts with Cam Kojal, who this week, and most importantly this weekend against Xavier. Cam Kojal this week hit 7 for 13 with a double, a triple, 2 bombs, and 7 RBIs in 4 games this week. Cam Kojal also hit for the cycle in Saturday's game 2 against Xavier, so he was the SEC Player of the Week according to D1 Baseball. And then Arkansas starter Colin Fisher threw an 8-inning complete game shutout in Arkansas's 8-inning run rule victory Sunday over Xavier, and Colin Fisher only gave up 1 hit with no walks and 11 strikeouts in an 8-inning complete game shutout for the Arkansas Razorbacks. So Arkansas still the number 6 team in the country, 6-1 to start the season. Moving on to the Aggies of Texas A&M, currently the number 23 team in the country. Texas A&M still unbeaten, undefeated. They swept Penn, the University of Pennsylvania, in College Station over the weekend. The offense has really started well for Texas A&M. They are hitting .332 as a team to start the season. They're also top 5 in the SEC with 15 bombs hit so far this season. The pitching staff has also been solid for Texas A&M. Opponents are only hitting a 197 average against the A&M pitching staff to start the season. A&M has they've struck out 73 batters to only walking 5 in 7 games to start the season. So a pretty good start through 2 weekends for the Texas A&M Aggies. The number 25 team in the country, the Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss is undefeated as well. They just recently entered the top 25 after sweeping Missouri State at home this past weekend. Ole Miss is top 3 in the SEC in homers with 15 and ERA with a 2.51 team ERA. Judd Utermark has stood out at the plate for Ole Miss. Judd Utermark already has 6 home runs this season, so Ole Miss still remains undefeated. The number 11 team in the country, the Georgia Bulldogs, 6-1 on the season. They swept Samford in a series at home in Athens this weekend, sweeping Samford. As always, Georgia with that small ballpark. Georgia leads the SEC in homers thus far this season with 24 bombs. They are 3rd in the conference as well As a pitching staff, they're third in the conference with 96 strikeouts. Trey Phelps has started really hot to this season, batting a whopping .522 is Trey Phelps. And then on the injury front, two-way player Kenny Ishikawa, who plays center field and is also a part of the weekend starting rotation for Georgia. Kenny Ishikawa, he has a hairline fracture in his right foot after he got hit by a pitch in a midweek game this past week. He is week to week currently on the injury report is two-way player Kenny Ishikawa for the Georgia Bulldogs. Moving on, the Florida Gators 7-1, the number 10 team in the country. They swept Kennesaw State at home this past weekend. Ace Liam Peterson struck out 12 Kennesaw State batters in 5 scoreless innings. And then another starter, Aiden King, has been dominant thus far this season for Florida in 12 scoreless innings through 2 starts for Aiden King to start the season. The Vanderbilt Commodores, 6-2 on the season, swept Marist at home over the weekend in Nashville. They in 5 home games this season, Vanderbilt has been really dominant through their first 5 home games in Nashville to start the season, outscoring their opponent 65-11, while they've hit .427 as a team so far at home this season with 13 home runs at home through 5 games. Vanderbilt is second in the SEC currently with 22 home runs as a team, only behind Georgia's 24. So a lot of people thought coming into the season that the power was going to be the issue for Vanderbilt's offense, and it has not been. They are currently, through 2 weekends, second in the SEC, only behind Georgia in home runs as an offensive lineup. So really, really impressive for the Vanderbilt Commodores. The Alabama Crimson Tide, 7-1 to start the season. They swept Rhode Island at home over the weekend. You had another really good 2 starts from the combination of starting pitchers in Zane Adams and Miles Upchurch, who have been really good to start the season. And then a guy I always talk about, one of the premier players in college baseball, a superstar in Alabama shortstop Justin LeBron, has 5 home runs already through 8 games to start the season. I love watching Justin LeBron play baseball, and he's starting hot again to start the season for Alabama. The Kentucky Wildcats, 5-2. They beat Evansville this weekend, 2 out of 3 in a weekend series. They did lose to Morehead State at home in a midweek game last week during the week. Look, for Kentucky, it's unfortunate. Their best player in Tyler Bell, being out indefinitely with a shoulder injury, it severely hurts them. It hurts them as a team. He's their best player. He was a preseason All-American, and him being out for however long he's going to be out, he's ruled out indefinitely right now, definitely hurts Kentucky. Their pitching staff, their starting rotation of Jackson Jelkin, Ben Cleaver, and Nate Harris, though, has been really good so far, the starting rotation through 2 weekends for the Kentucky Wildcats. Pulmonary South Carolina Gamecocks, they are 6-2 on the season. They lost to Army on Friday, but then beat Navy and Air Force on Saturday and Sunday to win 2 out of 3 over the weekend. Will Craddock has led the way at the plate thus far. Will Craddock and veteran catcher Talmadge LeCroy has led the plate for the South Carolina Gamecocks. Talmadge LeCroy, the catcher, is hitting .467. And then Will Craddock hit leadoff home runs in back-to-back days on both Saturday and Sunday over the weekend for South Carolina. And then the last team we'll cover, the Missouri Tigers. Missouri is 5-2 on the season. They dominated this weekend in their weekend series. They had 3 straight 7-inning run rule victories this weekend as part of a sweep over New Haven over the weekend. Tyler Macon has raked at the plate for Missouri. He's red hot. He has reached base safely in 21 of his last 27 at-bats. And then look out, maybe the surprising stat through 2 weekends of play so far in college baseball. Missouri is 3rd in the SEC currently in batting average as a team. They haven't played, top-tier competition. They played weak competition. But I think most people would have been shocked if you said after 2 weekends of the 2026 college baseball season, Missouri is currently 3rd in the SEC in team batting average as a team. I think most people would have been shocked if you had told them that to start the season. But that is our week 2 edition of Around the Diamond in the SEC. Again, I hope you enjoy it. Give me some feedback on that. A segment that I'm starting. I love to get feedback on that new segment that we're starting that I plan to do for once every week throughout baseball season. But again, if you have any feedback, if you like it, don't like it, let me know in the comments below. Let's get into a little bit of a discussion previewing, again, LSU back in action in Alex Box Stadium tonight against the McNeese State Cowboys. First pitch is at 6:30. Tonight, look, I'm looking for two guys mainly. There's three guys that I think you're going to see pitch tonight for LSU. But the top two guys I'm looking forward to seeing are Zach Cowan and Jaden Newt. Two veterans, two guys who were part of the team last year, and Jaden Newt and Zach Cowan. They both haven't been great to start the season. Both of them, Cowan and Newt, have matching 9.00 ERAs to start the season. Look, Zach Cowan has given up 7 hits, including a double and a home run in just 2 innings in 2 previous appearances to start the 2026 season. Zach Cowan was great. He and Casey Evans last season, he was great last season. He and Casey Evans were your top 2 bullpen arms out of the bullpen in 2025, but he hasn't started great. He's leaving the ball up in the zone a little bit too much. That's been the issue early on the season for Zach Cowan. And I think for Zach Cowan, and then with Jaden Newt as well, they're two veterans who you want to be able to be solid and consistent again and contribute in 2026. So I think it's important to see improvement for them, and I think they'll both possibly see some action out on the mound tonight. Jaden Newt has had 1 appearance. He started last Monday against Kent State, which Kent State's a good team. They beat Tennessee 2 out of 3 over the weekend. They're obviously a good team, but in a start against Kent State, Jaden Newt gave up 3 runs on 3 hits and 3 walks in 3 innings last Monday. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jaden Newt and Zach Cowan, because I think you obviously, right now in the bullpen, Gavin Guidry has been phenomenal. You like what you see from Maverick Rizzi and Devin Sheeran. Dax Dathe has been pretty good as well. But you want Jaden Newt and Zach Cowan as 2 veteran guys returning to this team to start to find it. And hopefully they will. I think you'll see both of them tonight. And then also you might see freshman Reagan Ricken as well, who against Nichols last Wednesday in his first collegiate appearance was great. I mean, he pitched 3 scoreless, hitless innings in the 6th, 7th, and 8th. He was great in his first collegiate appearance against Nichols last Wednesday, and then you might see him again in another midweek spot against McNeese tonight, so look out for Reagan Ricken as well. I did also want to say, overall, it's been a great start to the season, obviously, for LSU, right? LSU currently leading the SEC through 2 weekends in batting average. They also have 15 home runs on the season, which I believe is top 5 in the SEC. They are technically dead last in the SEC in ERA through 2 weekends, but I think that's deceiving because they do lead the SEC in strikeout through 2 weekends with 104 strikeouts, and I think this weekend, especially in the last 2 games against Notre Dame and UCF, I mean, you shut out UCF on Sunday. You only gave up 3 runs on Saturday to Notre Dame. So I think I'm not worried about the pitching staff long term. I think they're going to be fine. I think you saw solid starts from Casey Evans and another great start from Cooper Moore. William Schmidt was my pitcher of the weekend in Jacksonville. And then you see guys like Guidry having a phenomenal start, Sheeran, Rizzi, Dax Dathe. You want guys like Jaden Newt and Zach Cowan to come around. That's why I'm looking forward to seeing them back in action tonight. The offense has obviously been elite. They've been awesome through 8 games, and I think the pitching staff is fine. I think they're fine. I think they're gonna be okay. Again, it's weird. You lead the SEC in strikeouts, but technically you're dead last in the conference in ERA. But again, long term, I'm not really that worried about the pitching staff. But again, excited for tonight. LSU versus McNeese State in the box at 6:30. I'm looking to see Jaden Newt, Zach Cowan, and then maybe Reagan Ricken tonight as well. But that's all I have for the show for this Tuesday edition of the Babin on the Bayou show. Again, folks, hope you and your family are doing great to start the work week. I greatly appreciate all you guys for tuning into the show. Remember to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed. Tell a friend if they love LSU sports, if they love LSU baseball, to tune into the show. Tell them about the show, please. Thank you, as always, folks, so much for tuning in. And remember, God bless, go Tigers, and have a great one.